when is somebody gonna come out and tell the truth about Top Rank and Bob Arum and the scheme that he's running right now in the sport of boxing? We back. It's the Boxing Clinic and more. One time for the one time. Y'all know what the business is, man. We grinding. Shout out to the whole LDBC. Shout out to the brother 7A Sports TV. Shout out to the brother Black Fight Fan TV. Y'all go check out shopfightfan.com. Get you a few of them, or a couple of them LDBC shirts, man. Support black businesses, and I support my brother Black Fight Fan TV, all right? But, you know, when is they going to talk about the things that Top Rank is pulling over there, man, and what Bob Arum is doing? You know, basically taking his ball and only playing his court and not allowing other promoters to make these fights, not allowing his fighters to be have free reign to fight who they want to fight. Now, like 7A Sports said before, he said, well, Timothy Bradley told me when I used to interview him, this is what he said, that if he really wanted to fight somebody else, he could have fought somebody else. So is it true that, you know, his fighters can fight other people and jump the gun line and go do what they got to do and handle business? And if that's the case, why is Terrence Crawford begging Bob Arum after the Jeff Horn fight to go make fights with the other side and said that he's ready? You know, maybe that was just an open door policy or a special move that Timothy Bradley had that other fighters didn't have, all right? But nobody in the major media talks about Top Rank just continuously making in-house fights where it's not that, okay, we're not going to talk about it because Bob Arum is comping us and I'm Dan Rayfield eating cheeseburgers behind my computer and I'm not going to say nothing because Bob Arum, you know, is on the same team with ESPN now. It didn't have nothing to do with that because Dan Rayfield was riding a jock way before that. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if Deontay Wilder was a white heavyweight fighter signed with Top Rank or whatever the case may be. Dan Rayfield would have been spoke out against Eddie Hearn and all these riders would have been jumped out there, especially if he was with Bob Arum, all right? But that's one of the things that Bob Arum specializes in, that Eddie Hearn can't mess with him in, manipulating the media. He been had the American media in his back pocket. He been throwing out cash. He been throwing out comments. He been paying them to write about his fighters. He been paying them to control the narrative. Look at the Pacquiao and Mayweather situation. But guess what? When what goes around comes around. When it comes time for it to go around, his fighters usually go down and get beat. You know, and it's not because of karma all the time. It's the simple fact that his fighters are not being challenged. His fighters are being cradled. They continue to fight bad competition, and their skills start to deteriorate because they're not being challenged. It's like having a very, very smart kid in a regular class. You know he needs to be in the smarter class because he ain't being challenged. And he get bored and he start doing dumb shit and fucking up his life, all right? The same thing was going to happen to Terrence Crawford. He's going to continue to fight, you know, those sorry-ass people in the WBO and the guys that Top Rank can get options on, you know, because they don't have a major promoter. You know, but nobody talks about the shitty matchups they give you. Nobody talks about the undercards. You can't tell me a great undercard that Top Rank is giving you, you know, period. I've seen Showbox undercards better than the Top Rank cards, and look at what he's paying his undercard fighters. On the Crawford Jeff Horn undercard, them dudes was making $30K. And then one guy only made like $9 or $10K, I heard, as a co-feature. You know, as a co-feature. He not investing no real money into his fighters as far as across the board. You know, he giving you a main event that ain't his best main event was Lomachenko Linares this year. Good fight. Really, really good fight. But that's it. I mean, and people shit on PBC, but come on. I mean, that's where you getting your best fights at. Lara, Hurd, Stevenson, Jack, JoJo Diaz, Gary Russell. You getting Duck versus Duck Goose and Sean and Danny. I mean, you got Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. You know, you got Earl versus Peterson, like it or not. Mikey Garcia versus Lippy, yes. Mikey Garcia versus Robert Easter Jr. You know, you got fights. You know, Broner, Vargas, Charlo, Hugo Centennial Jr., Tank versus Clayar, Mares, Leo Santa Cruz, you know, Charlo, Trout. You getting good card. You can't tell me one Top Rank card that's been better than probably, you know, every card that Showtime had except for Earl Spence and Carlos Ocampo. All they overall cards suck, but nobody speaks about how top heavy and how weak their cards is. If this was Jenga or Jigga, whatever you call it, they would have been lost from the beginning. Because they undercard base is so sorry. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the Gilberto Ramirez card and how terrible that was. The Jose Ramirez card that old boy got dehydrated and had to go to the hospital. Even with him, the main event, it sucked. Danny O'Connor. You know, nobody talk about all these shitty cards that they give you. You know, oh, boxing is on ESPN. We're grateful to have it on ESPN, but what is the product that they're giving you? He's not going to allow Terrence Crawford to fight Earl Spence. Earl Spence is going to move up, and it's going to be a woulda, shoulda, coulda situation. He wasn't willing to make Lomachenko and Mikey. Everybody know he's stopping that fight. He publicly came out and said it. I'm not going to work with Mikey. You're going to take the money. I'll take the money. That's what he said. So when is somebody going to step up in the major media and call a spade, or they going to wait for this man to pass away and then act like he was the guy's greatest gift to boxing? Oh, he was so great. But everybody know the truth that he wasn't at the end. It's true that he's worked with some of the greatest of all time. It's true that he's a very, very knowledgeable man, period. Not even for an old man. He's more knowledgeable than most of the fans out there. You know, it's true that he made two of the biggest pay-per-view stars ever, Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather. He started them out. All that's true. Manny Pacquiao, it's true. But the one thing that doesn't escape my mind is that he was a cheap old man. He was a very cheap old man. He was a very, very conservative with his boxers, and he never really took risks in the game. He didn't take risks to it benefited, or it was time to cash out like on Manny Pacquiao. You know, that's just what it is, but nobody wants to speak up. But it's the Boxing Clinic and more. It's your boy CJ Goodfellow, one time for the one time we grinding. Y'all know what the business is. Check us out. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as well. If you want to check out, want to donate the PayPal link. We also on the Raw and Uncut, the new podcast. We there with me and Cali Enigma. Also, S210 College Sports, most wonderful college sports and football and basketball needs. We always there. Don't forget to subscribe, share, hit the bell icon when we miss another video. Shout out to the whole LDBC. One time for the one time we gone.